How are you?
Welcome. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I almost just said the place that I live, but then remembered that I don't say that out loud to prevent people from coming. But I am living with my partner, and that's been really fun and a nice step for our relationship. And
nice.
It's been, I hoped that it would be, because there's always that fear of like, oh, when we move in, is it going to get really sour really fast, and is it going to go bad? But it's been everything I dreamt of and then some, and it's sort of like obnoxiously cute. So that's been a great relief.
Godspeed. That's awesome to hear.
Thank you. And you're in a relationship.
That's right. Yep. I'm living with my girlfriend as well. She actually just got back from a couple months shooting a TV show in Milwaukee. So it's nice having her back. Yeah.
Shooting now during COVID.
It was the past 2 months. So sort of, I think everyone got vaccinated and they followed all the protocols and stuff, but yeah.
I love that you're looking out for the whole production. You're like, they were good. They were safe.
It was, yeah. It was on the level. Trust me.
I've been reading your book. It's so funny.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate
your sense of humor makes me laugh so much. It's so specific. It's so unique. I can't think of anybody else who has even remotely like a comparable sense of humor. It's just so great.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah. I wrote these prose poems, kind of got inspired by James Tate, who I don't know if you've read any of his stuff, but you'd see the similarities, I think, in terms of like the style. But it was just, I loved reading his poems, and just kind of inspired me to start writing some stuff as like this little creative outlet on a typewriter. I wrote them all on a typewriter.
Tom Hanks?
Exactly. Yes, I am the next Tom Hanks, only in the typewriter sense. But it's really interesting writing on a typewriter because I don't know. I've heard some people say they love it because you can't really edit yourself. Like you can't like hit backspace and redo a sentence really. And they like it because you could just go and just type and then fix it later. And I found a different reason I liked it, which was it made me formulate, because I wanted it to look good on a typewriter. So it made me formulate each sentence in my head, like exactly how I wanted to do it before I typed it. Cause I didn't want any like fuck ups on the typewriter page. So
from like a visual standpoint, you're talking about like you would envision how it would look on the page.
And just like what it was. So sometimes I feel like if I'm typing on a computer or a laptop, like I'll just start typing and I might not even know where the sentence is going, because you can stop and pause and fix and edit as you go.
Yeah.
But with typewriter, it was like sit there for like 5 minutes, think of the sentence, type it, stop, think of the next sentence. So it was a weird way of thinking and writing.
Also, isn't like the biggest benefit to using a typewriter the fact that you don't have internet?
Yes, that seems
huge.
That is the best, because you're really forced to just focus on. It's really weird. It's very, very like meditative type thing, because like you're not you can't like click over to another tab. You can't like have a text message pop up. So you're really just kind of in this world where you're just focusing on like each sentence. I recommend it. I think it's a really interesting way to write. It's, it's a little cumbersome because typewriters are like big cumbersome machines from, they're not as easily maneuverable as a laptop or a phone, but they do kind of make you think in a different way, weirdly.
Yeah, I get that. I feel that way with anything that's sort of like an outdated, old, past era. Even if I had a CD player today, I'd be like, I feel like I'd be like taken back in time and be thinking like in a different way.
I know, CD players. Wow. I just remember them like skipping, like you had to hold it steady, the Discman.
My first experience with CD players was not a good one. I got a Hello Kitty sort of like stereo sounds system, and it exploded battery acid on me. And I had to be rushed to the hospital, and my parents were just wailing about like not having insurance.
And you haven't listened to music since.
I haven't. It's really sad that the last thing I listened to was A-Teens.
Oh my God. What was your first album that you got? Your first CD.
It's really bad. It was a NSYNC, No Strings Attached.
That makes sense. That's a good one.
But then I would lie and I would say that my favorite music was all my mom's favorite, because she would tell me to say those things. So it would be like, oh my God, Carole King, like Phil Collins. Oof, Another Day in Paradise is my jam. But I was completely lying.
Well, Carole King is great. And
she's phenomenal.
Yeah.
I should have just stuck with my mom's taste.
I think my first CD that I got was Billy Joel, River of Dreams, which is definitely an odd choice I guess I was like probably 12 at the time, but it had that song River of Dreams on it, which was like it was so weird that was like a popular MTV song at one point. Billy Joel, River of Dreams.
Yes.
1993 or 4 or whatever.
The people who were once MTV's sort of heartthrobs compared to now.
Well, he wasn't the heartthrob he was in the maybe 70s or 80s at this point. This was the 90s.
Oh, okay.
This was slightly older Billy Joel.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
We're naturally kind of talking about aging.
That's one of the topics I threw out there because I do have a lot on my mind, but sure, let's dive in.
I'm so curious. Yeah, for anybody listening who's completely lost, Mike and I have been friends for a long time, almost a decade, I want to say. Has it been?
Yeah, I guess so.
That's crazy.
Whenever y'all did Fallon.
That's what I was going to ask. We met episode. when there was that crossover thing of the show that I was on. iCarly did a crossover with at the time it was not yet the Tonight Show, or was it?
It was late night.
It was late night with Jimmy Fallon, and we did like a crossover episode. Just the most natural crossover you can imagine. And that's where Mike and I met, and it was really comforting. It's always really comforting, I think, when you find somebody because it's an unfamiliar setting, and we're there in New York, and I love New York, but still it's just new, and I don't know, I can get quite socially anxious and everything, and just hitting it off with you was really comforting and helpful. And then actually when I returned I think I did late night, and then I did the Tonight Show, and you were there both times, and I have to tell you, you kind of just talking with me ahead of time was so helpful in. Still, I think I was incredibly nervous and like not able to quell that and get that in a reasonable place at all. My voice was an octave higher and like shaky. And I don't even remember what I said. I literally interrupted Jimmy in the middle of the interview, like interrupted the person whose show it is in the middle of whatever I was saying. I think about it way too, probably daily, like very often.
I mean, I seem to remember going great, and I appreciate that. Yeah. I mean, I think anytime I was working with a guest in whatever capacity, I think that one I was just like giving you advice on just like, it's going to be easy and fun, and Jimmy's cool, and just be yourself. But, you know, I think at that show, everyone kind of tried to make it as comfortable as possible for all the guests, which is, I think, why it became a popular show and popular destination for celebrities, because they felt kind of taken care of and kind of safe there. So
definitely felt safe. Definitely felt safe. That's not always the case, but to your show, it definitely was. So aging.
Yep. Yeah, it's so hard.
That's what I said. So okay. So for anybody listening, I was texting Mike. We're like, what are some things that have been on your mind? What are some things that you're interested in talking about? I always enjoy talking about something that's kind of relevant and interesting to both of us. And your list of first of all, he came back with 28 things that he's been thinking about. Every single one made me laugh and was equally poignant. But the two that I felt the most kind of like, oh man, I've been thinking about that a lot too, are kind of aging and toxic positivity. And so maybe we'll talk about one or both or anything else that comes to mind. But also, just so you know, I don't have any notes. I usually come in and I have like, I feel like I'm way over prepared. And sometimes I actually think I get too rigid because I have so many like things and questions that I want to come to. So it's really a relief to be coming in here with a friend and being able to just have a conversation.
Yeah. Keep it natch. That's the thing people say, right? See, that's natural. Another exactly. That's exactly what I'm thinking about with like the aging thing is like, it used to be natural to say things and they were just the right, cool things to say. And now I feel like especially even with the pandemic, it was like kind of like a marker in the sand of like, okay, Gen Z is this, millennials are that. And there's, you just can't understand each other, whatever. I know they're trying to, I think the thing that did it for me was there was like millennials love the cry laughing emoji.
Yes.
And Gen Zs, they're done with it. They think it's stupid or whatever. And I'm just
how do you know that? How do you know this? What have you seen?
Oh, about Twitter or whatever.
Okay.
That's like one of the big things that separates millennials from, it's like a telltale sign you're millennials if you use the cry laughing emoji.
First of all, what's wrong with the cry laughing emoji?
That's what I'm saying. Like, I guess it's just really truly like an age gap thing where some people think it's cringe. And to me, I feel like that emoji encapsulates everything that I think of when I'm wanting to laugh at something. Like in my head, like that's the perfect expression of laughter. The cry, and it's just, I guess it's just not cool, but I've had to come to terms with it that's just who I am.
Do you ever, a friend of mine who is a millennial, who's a bit older than me, like at the cusp of millennial, or maybe not the cusp. How old is the oldest millennial right now? 60? I feel like the age range is like way bigger than you think.
I think the oldest is, I want to say like, I think it starts in 1980. So I guess like 40, 41.
Okay. So this person was 35 and they said, oh, we love to see it. I had said something and they're like, oh, we love to see it. And I immediately was like, oh, like I felt so like I died inside. But my first thought was like, that's what all the 18-year-old YouTubers I watch say.
Right.
18-year-old YouTubers that I watch.
Yeah.
I'm watching them. Yeah. Why am I judging the person who's saying the thing that they say?
Because it's just not genuine. I get it, because sometimes I want to say those phrases. I want to say, you hate to see it, you love to see it. It's that for me. And it's just not, it just doesn't come out right. It's just not it. People see through it. I mean, clearly Gen Z sees through it and they're like, no, sorry. That is not for you to say. And it's, I think it's, you have to at some point be like, you know what? Okay, that's fair. I'll do the cry laugh guy. And, I'm cringe, but I'm free. I saw some meme that said, I'm cringe, but I'm free. And sometimes you kind of got to accept that.
I'm dying. So I've actually switched. I used to wear scrunchies often, and I've switched to sort of like a plastic thing that hurts my whole head and every fiber of my being. But because of I'm like, shoot. So I wore a scrunchie from 5 years old on. Like I never took that thing out.
Right.
I was homeschooled. I was Mormon. Like I wasn't seeing the trendsetters around me who I was learning to like not wear the scrunchie because of. So I kept the scrunchie up until 28. I'm now 28 and I would still wear the scrunchie. And I'm like, first off, I like it. Second off, it's not damaging to my hair. Mm-hmm. I like that it kind of just is there and it doesn't cause my hair to break off. But then I was like, well, shoot, is this like what is the younger generation called? Gen Z? I don't know what they're called. Is this a Gen Z thing? And like you see them on the trays and when you walk past an Urban Outfitters, and that judgment led me to a plastic thing. It also might've been just that we were talking about aging. So I was like, oh, better not have this scrunchie. And I'm like, age is so aging.
So even though it's less comfortable, you're doing it. Are you fully committed to it?
I'm honestly not fully committed to it because also there was a part of me that was like, even if I assumed that some people would judge the scrunchie, but I also think that it's a talking point. So I was like, I did like this live show and I wore a scrunchie every time I did the live show. And also I had to have my hair back because I can't like talk when I've got my hair, like, it's just a lot of hair and I feel like I'm like Cousin It or something. It's just kind of everywhere. So I'd wear the scrunchie and I thought, well, at the worst, people are like, God, that scrunchie was oof. But at least they're talking.
Right.
Maybe they didn't pick up a single bit of the substance I was trying to share.
Why is the scrunchie? Why is it obsolete? What happened? It's just like the young people aren't doing it, so therefore it's not cool.
I feel like now like 18 to 22 are wearing scrunchies heavily. Like they love scrunchies so much. And so being 28, I'm like, even though like, I guess I'll just damage my hair so that heaven forbid, people think that I'm trying to look younger than I am. And also, why is that like, you can't try and look younger than you are, but you also should look younger than you are. But you also have to embrace aging, but don't look older. Like there's a lot, and maybe this is more, I'm curious to hear from you if it applies to you as well, if that's more of just like programming for women because there's so marketing for us is constantly just like how to look younger, but not seem like you're trying,
Right. Yeah. I have my own odd sense of style, which I don't think fits into any age group. But which it doesn't seem, this isn't, but sometimes I'll go crazy and wear like a bright yellow jacket that I got in Barcelona. Cause I think like, Barcelona, no one else has that here, whatever. But I think I don't know. It's less about like looking young than it is about just like being aware of all the trends and all that stuff. It's hard. And I think I've finally, working at Fallon for 10 years, you're kind of always having to be aware of like what the cool things are, I
imagine. Yeah.
Just everything in the zeitgeist. Like, and I still like to be aware of it, but I think I'm more okay with like not really embracing it because I am, I'm 37 and it's not that old in the grand scheme of things, but it's definitely not like the youth.
Do you feel your age?
I don't even know what that means really, but I don't feel old. I don't feel old. Yeah. And I still feel like, not an adult in many ways, just because like I don't know like certain things like taxes and any real estate. Like I don't know how to do any of that stuff. So I still feel kind of like a helpless child in that way. But I can still like although I have like I live on the third floor of our apartment building, and I have noticed like walking up the stairs, like I do breathe like pretty heavily for like a minute after I get back to our apartment, and I'm just like, oof, I've never noticed that before. And it's just like, I guess that's just like, that's just age. It's just one of the, like anytime I would go home and visit my parents, like in college, after college, etc., I would like each time I noticed them, they breathe harder and deeper every time. Like, because it's like, so, a few months between seeing them each time, I'm like, you notice the breathing is like deeper.
I also feel like with men, their noses get redder. Like their noses just keep getting redder with age.
Yeah. Oh my God. And then, like at some point, like the hair, like the bush of hair coming out of the ear, that's just one of those things where it's just like, oh, guess that happens. I don't know.
The nose hair that kind of like curl. My grandma's got nose hair that just kind of like curls around. I'm like, how is it wrapping around? Are you hot curling your nose hair every morning? Grandma, what is happening?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a tough, the whole idea of aging is a tough thing. I think the one thing I mentioned too is that it just feels like for some reason, as you get older, everything gets harder instead of easier. It just doesn't seem like it should be like that.
So what does that mean? Because, okay, so I have a very opposite kind of experience where I feel like my life has stabilized tremendously over the past kind of 10 years. I would never want to revisit my teens or my early 20s. Like, I mean, I guess I'm pretty cheap. So maybe if somebody offered me like a couple $100,000, I'd probably do it. I'd probably like re-endure everything. But really, I feel like there's some sort of peace and kind of enjoyment and pleasure in my life now that I did not know I could have before. And I also think just like I mean, there are different challenges for sure than I had then, but overall, I would take the groundedness and the comfort and the stability of this age way over the insecurity and confusion and absolute chaos of the past. So when you say it gets harder, what are you talking about?
No, I definitely hear what you're saying. And I think, to a degree that makes a lot of sense too. But I think like, as you get older and older, like, I don't know, it just seems like every decision is that much weightier. Every task you have to do is that much more annoying. And and like it just seems like there's no time. It just seems like there's no time. Is it that's like a big thing, which is odd because it's like we just went through a year plus of like quarantine where, especially in the beginning, there was really not much to do. And yet it still would sometimes feel like, whoa, where did all the time go today? I don't know. That might just be me. I might just be really good at doing nothing. I've definitely like considered that before. I'm like too good at doing nothing. I could do nothing so great. I'm terrific at doing nothing, but I just sometimes feel like I don't know, I'll play the guitar for a little bit. I'll play some chess online a little bit. I'll watch I
knew chess was going to make an appearance. I knew chess was coming in here one way or another.
I'll play a little on the keyboard. I'll watch some baseball. I'll read some stuff on the internet, and then the day's over. And I'm like, whoa. What did I do?
Do you feel good, or do you feel like bad? Or are you like, oh shoot, I didn't like accomplish anything? Or do you feel like, well, because you play guitar, because you did chess, these stimulating activities, do you then feel like good?
I'm impressed with myself, but I wouldn't say I feel good.
I think snot just like launched.
I think it's a weird thing because I feel like a common thing I hear is like people saying it's really hard to be alone or in your own headspace, being alone with your own thoughts. And I could do that all day, which I think is a good thing. I think that's a positive thing. But also I do sometimes worry like I'm like too good at it and I should be like doing other like accomplishing other things, but
sure. Well, I also feel like sometimes like getting out of I very much relate to that. And I feel like sometimes I need to like talk to somebody else to get out of my head to propel things forward. Otherwise, It's really easy for me to just stay in a kind of hamster wheel of thought. And, I could just spend a week alone and thinking and thought, but it's like, have I moved the dial at all? Have I had any sort of original thought, or am I just having the same thoughts that I've had for, 15 years, just rehashing? so I always feel like it's useful to talk to somebody else and kind of get somebody else's point of view. And for me, I feel like that helps just move things.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. I don't know what it is about, like, I can entertain myself, but I guess that's a good thing, but also it can be, I don't know, maybe sometimes it's fine. Like I live with my girlfriend and our dog, so I'm not like a complete hermit, but I feel like I could easily do that if I wanted to.
Yeah, totally.
I could easily be like a recluse and be like not depressed. Be like, this is actually kind of fun.
Is it like, what age would be the one that you would want to stay at? Like, is there an age that you're already past that you're like, God, that was the sweet spot? Or it's not really trying to get back to a thing. It's more just the idea of the future. What is it for you?
I feel like it's, if I really analyze it, I think there's always a nostalgia kind of for the era previous to the one you're in. So it's easy to be like, oh yeah, I miss this period. I miss that. Like, and then when you were living in that time, you were nostalgic for the time before it.
Sure.
There's like a really good Onion article it was before my time working at the Onion, but it was like something like Area Man, constantly nostalgic for the previous 5 years that he was in. That's the headline itself is much more concise and funny, but the idea of it was something that always kind of stuck with me. Like, you're always kind of like longing for, things seem so much simpler and easier than, and then 5 years from now, I'll be looking back on this period and being like, I missed that pandemic. That was fun. No, probably not. But I think the year 2020, I don't think there's going to be much nostalgia for that.
No, we can scrap that guy. Is it usually the same qualities of the previous era? Like, do you find yourself that each time you get to a new area, you're like romanticizing the blank and blank of the previous era, or do those qualities change that you feel nostalgic?
Yeah, I think they change probably. Yeah. I think
that's interesting, because then it makes it seem, because to me, I feel like if I were going, oh, well, I like that, well, I miss this and this. And then I used to think I miss that. It's like, well, then you probably still have this and this now. And it's probably, it's whatever.
Yeah.
But that feels like it's always something like different. What is it? Like, I must know.
I don't know. I feel like, I don't know, when I was in college, I was probably like, oh, I miss like, high school was so easy, and you're living with your family and all your food gets made for you and whatever. And like, then after college, you're like, oh, college was awesome. Like, I was independent. Got to hang out with all these different people and had this group of friends, and you kind of were totally free. And then, the next, whatever. It just keeps going and going in that kind of cycle. It's kind of like the grass is always greener type thing, which I just feel like is just so true in almost every aspect of life. At least for me, maybe that's my own problem. I always feel like, sometimes you can really like be like, I wish I was like, I was at Fallon for 10 years. And I think there was always a part of me that was like, oh, it'd be so awesome to be like totally free and like.
Yes. Yeah, totally.
And then, then you can be totally free and you're like, oh, I miss like the steadiness of like, you're always kind of like looking at what you don't have. It's just kind of like a weird thing of human nature, I think.
No, I get that. I would not, like I said earlier, I would not like revisit my former career. Really, it took so much out of me, but there is definitely the self-doubt that comes with kind of the transition that I'm in now and wondering what the future holds, and the fear of if it doesn't hold what I would like it to hold. And, and the wondering, oh God, will there come a day when I regret walking away from that thing that was working, even though I know what led me to leave in the first place. Like I know where I was and how unhealthy that was, but then I'm wondering, well, shoot, should I have just stuck with it? But I don't think it would have been possible for me to stick with it. Like, I don't think that I shudder to think what would have, like, I easily could have seen myself being like the shaved head, tattoo on the face, like going that path had I stuck with it. And so in that sense, I'm like, well, I had to do what I had to do. And while I'm more content now with like, I feel more generally fulfilled with what I'm doing, and that I feel like I'm actually applying myself and not just like regurgitating somebody else's words or whatever. I guess there's more, probably it's a control thing. Probably it's a feeling more identity thing. But also if that doesn't work, then will that just feel worse? Because then it's like, well, actually me didn't work. Like, me being somebody else worked, me sort of putting myself out there didn't. And the fear that comes with that. And like right now it's okay. But in how many years, X amount of years, I feel like it won't be okay. Like, I feel like I will be, if things either will go really well and I'll be in my mind totally satisfied and just like soaking it in and having a great time, or they won't go how I would like them to go. And then it's like dealing with that for just the rest of my life. Like, that doesn't sound good.
I hope those aren't the only two options, but if they are, I hope the first one comes true for you. But I totally hear you. It's, yeah, you can make a decision for and be like, that is definitely the right decision. And then you can miss elements of parts of the previous time, even though you made the right call to leave it or whatever. You can kind of be like, oh, yes, there were some parts of that I miss a little bit or whatever. And I agree, like the kind of unknown, going into the unknown is a really tough thing. It's a really,
Why
really
is
tough.
it? I don't understand. Because I think, like, especially it doesn't make any sense to me if you know that what's comfortable doesn't work or isn't right or is not satisfying you anymore. Any amount, like, there's 20 different reasons why something that's comfortable might not work, but yet what's comfortable seems to just stay so much longer than doing the uncomfortable thing, jumping into the uncertainty, into the unknown.
The unknown it's such I think, like, it's so tempting. And then when you do it, it's awesome for like a week. And then you're like, oh no, what did I do? Did I throw everything away? Like, whatever.
Yeah.
But I do think it's necessary. And it's a little scary in that way because it is unknown. But if the known is making you miserable or is not making you happy, then you got to try the unknown and see what's there. And hopefully it's a better thing.
Is that why you say it's necessary?
I think if you're miserable or unhappy in a current state that you're in, the unknown
something's got to give.
Yeah, it can be scary, but it's better to get out of that. The thing that is, it's known, but it's a known quantity, but it's also, it's making you miserable or unhappy. You gotta break free of it. So I think I applaud anyone who has the courage to do that. It's a really tough decision, but I think it's good. And I will say, I think you're doing a great thing. I think this podcast that you're doing is so great because I think there's, an openness that you have and that you bring out of your guests that you just, to me, I don't see that often on the internet at all. So I think I applaud you for it. I think it's really cool. And the things you talk about and the subjects that you get into, I think you're doing a good service to a lot of people.
Thank you. Oh my God, my heart's warm. Also, maybe it's because I'm wearing this giant fuzzy. It's like the largest. This is another thing that it's like the biggest thing. But for some reason, I'd rather put this on than like go through the effort of turning on the heater.
Yeah.
Why is it just like easier to put on a layer than it is to finesse a machine?
Well, let's unpack that. That's a whole other
podcast topic.
Yeah.
Do you feel like your life is like, did you think when you were younger, like, oh, this is where I'll be when I'm blank, or did you not really do that so much? Basically, I'm getting to, is your life what you thought it would be now? or was it ever what you thought it would be? Is it more than you thought it would be? Less?
Weirdly, it was, for a while, it was exactly what I wanted, because I remember, this is so odd, but when I was in college, right before I graduated, like I was in a class and they made everyone go around the room and say like what their goal, it was in, you know, in film and TV class. And they made everyone kind of say like what their short-term and long-term goals were for their career. And I swear to God, I said, I would love to get in at the Onion. And then I would love to get in on the ground floor of whoever takes over for Conan O'Brien.
No.
Yeah, it's 100% true. And that,
oh my God,
literally exactly, it turned out to be Jimmy who took over for Conan.
Yeah.
That was not even known at that point. And that's exactly what happened for 13 years of my career. And then so I left Fallon and I was like, I wish I said a third thing. So I feel like maybe I should just retire. But it was so crazy that exactly happened. It was so odd.
Was this a thing that you had thought about before being asked it in that moment? Or was this just like it came out?
No, it was a thing I thought about. And I knew I had an internship sort of lined up at the Onion. So not that crazy, but I didn't know that would lead to me writing for the Onion.
Right.
It did. And then, whoever taking over for Conan, getting it on the ground floor of that is crazy, because I ended up being the first writer hired at Fallon before it was a show. So that was totally one of those, the secret type things of like, put it out there and maybe it'll happen. It was so odd.
Do you believe in the sort of like positive thinking? I don't know if it can be called a movement, but just in positive thinking. Yeah, the manifestation thing. I think there's something to it. I do think there's something to it. And I also, there's like this interview with Bob Dylan from a long while ago on 60 Minutes, like mid 2000s. He says some amazing, crazy stuff in it, and I highly recommend anyone. I'm a huge Bob Dylan fan, and he's so mysterious and doesn't do a lot of interviews. And so whenever he does, I really pay attention to what he says, because I think he has kind of this weird all-seeing wisdom. But he said something like, he knew exactly where he was supposed to be and what he wanted to do. And then he said something that was like, I knew this was my destiny, but you gotta make sure who you tell that to, because you gotta some things you gotta keep close to your vest and keep inside yourself, because if you put your dreams out there too much, people will crush them. And I think I think about that a lot. I think that's a totally valid thing. I think sometimes you can manifest, but also I think you gotta be careful who you say it to, in a weird way. Does that make any sense? No, it makes total sense, but it's very tricky, because I was going to ask you sort of what your dreams are for the future, but now I guess it's best if you don't answer. The thing is, I don't know. So I wish I had the, the wisdom of youth to know exactly where I should be. But I honestly, my dreams for the future, I kind of don't know. Which is a weird spot to be in. Do you have dreams for the future? And if you don't want to share them, you take Bob Dylan's advice and keep them inside. That's fine too. I know like exactly where I want things to go. It definitely includes directing. I would say directing is sort of like long-term, where I want things to go. And writing projects that I direct initially, and then eventually just directing other people's projects. And I think there's something to the activity of directing and the activeness of it that I very much respond to. And then also just working with actors. I love that, and kind of being, I guess, just like making the crew and the cast and everybody feel kind of good and valued. And I've definitely worked with a lot of directors who didn't do that. And I saw what negative effects it had on people, and how people just get worn down and sluggish. And then how one, acknowledgement of somebody's kind of skill can just, changes them for the whole day. It changes them for the whole week. You see them just kind of come into work more ready and excited. And it's like, God, I would love to be in a position where I could kind of set the tone, or help set the tone, and help set everybody up for success and help everybody kind of know that they're valued and that they're not just a cog in the machine or another, whatever. Every person on a set is necessary. And I'd love to kind of help remind them of that in the long term, but also something in the Star Wars universe, if I'm being totally honest.
Wow.
Like that would be a dream.
Put it out. I mean, let's manifest it. I can see it. And I feel like there's more and more Star Wars shows being made every day. I feel like I see it. So I think it's doable. There's
something, right? There's got to be some happening.
I think so. Yeah, that'd be great. And I love what you said, to go back about directing and just the idea of making everyone feel, acknowledged and important. I think that's such a big thing. I would always do that at Fallon when I was a writer and a showrunner. It's just, I think there's two different leadership styles. One is leading out of fear, and one is leading with, positive reinforcement. And I think they can both be effective, but I think, just in a vacuum, but I hate the fear-based leadership. I think it's so detrimental. It can even get results, but it's so detrimental to like people's actual like mental health. Like,
yes.
And it's so like, I've had my day made when someone says good job, and I've made other people's day by saying good job. And it's just so easy to do.
Yes.
It takes almost nothing to say like, hey, great job on that. Or send an email that's like, I really see what you're doing and I really appreciate it. It's so easy. And it can just, like, to your point, at least I respond better to positive reinforcement. And I think a lot of people do. I think if you're aware that people are seeing that you're doing good work, you want to even work harder to like
100%.
All right, this person has my back. I want to make them proud, whatever. So I think that's a great, sounds like you would run a great set. So, yeah.
What if you saw me directing and I was like, no! Like just screaming at children, like slapping people?
That would be quite ironic.
When I say like, what do you want out of your future? Does your mind go to a certain, and you say you're not entirely sure, does your mind go to a certain like area? Like, are you thinking, well, I'm not entirely sure what I want in my career, or well, I don't know exactly what I want out of blank. Like, or is it just more of a general thing?
It just kind of goes blank. It's just, yeah. I don't know.
Do you spend time thinking about it, or do you not really?
Every second of the day.
Is it because you've accomplished everything that you dreamt of, so you feel like, well, what now? And you don't.
I think to a degree,
wow.
Yeah. I think that's part of it, because I did do at a show like Fallon, you kind of get to do like all different styles of comedy, all different types of bits, work with all different types of people, from celebrities to comedians to musicians and rock star legends. Like, I got to work with McCartney and Neil Young and things like that. You don't expect going into comedy to be able to do such a wide variety of things that you get to do at a show like that. So
the McCartney thing was awesome.
Thanks.
Yeah, that's cool.
I think there's that's a part of it. And then I don't know, sometimes I feel like, I'm like, I can do all different sort of here. I'll put out a manifest thing to the world. If there's ever anything that happens with Gilmore Girls again, I would love to be involved, because I'm a huge fan of the show, and I've had my paths cross with Gilmore Girls stuff in certain ways. And I did the tweet that kind of did like this tweet at the end of last year that went viral in the best possible way, which was that there was no negative feedback, because it was like stayed within the Gilmore Girls community, I guess. But all these people were like, oh my gosh. The tweet was basically like, here's how all the Gilmore Girls characters would react to the pandemic. And I, put little examples and little lines of dialogue, and it was this crazy response. And people were like, I can't believe it. I could hear the characters' voices in my head. And, as a writer, I'm like, well, I hope so. That's kind of the point of writing, but thank you. I think maybe people don't get that much on Twitter, but,
yeah.
But that, if they ever did like some sort of, if they ever brought that back in some way, or honestly, even just working on something with Amy Sherman Palladino and Daniel Palladino, I think I have pretty similar sensibilities to their style. And I just admire the characters that they create. So I'll put that one out there. I'll put Gilmore Girls, if they're ever doing anything with Gilmore Girls again, another Netflix thing, another reboot or whatever, anything, I would be down to do that.
Maybe you'll be working on a Gilmore Girls something, and I'll be working on a Star Wars something, and we can do a crossover. The only crossover more outrageous than I
Oh my gosh. Yeah, like the Death Star lands in Stars Hollow. Death Stars Hollow? There's something there.
I'm laughing, and as I laugh, I'm like tapping where my microphone's resting. So it's really so much fun.
That would be a Gilmore Girls Star Wars crossover. Actually sounds amazing. I mean, couldn't have two different fan bases probably coming together. I think it can work.
I need to watch Gilmore Girls. I haven't watched it.
Are you serious?
I've never seen it.
I'm sure you've heard this, but it's truly the best show, and anyone and everyone that I've recommended it to, and yes, being a diehard fan. So when you're ready, dive in.
My best friend tells me that all the time, and she swears I would love it. So I'll give it a try sometime.
Everyone who watches it ends up loving it. So I've never heard someone be like, yeah, I watched 3 episodes and I ditched it. It's always like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm on my second viewing of it already.
I'm excited.
So there's my vision. There's my manifestation.
I appreciate I hope we did the right thing in putting it out to these people.
Sure. If you're listening, don't crush our dreams. Just be helpless. Just be kind. Just be considerate. Don't crush it.
I'm curious with you self-publish your book, is that right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So to me, that seems sort of like, that's like the dream, right? Any artist's dream is like, okay, you've done your steady work, whatever you want to call it, for a consistent amount of time. And you kind of like break off and you do your passion projects and the things that actually have, ideally every project is a passion project, but yeah, you're taking those things that have been maybe personal to you or that you've been plugging away at in your free time for so long. And that seems like kind of the ultimate, that seems like the dream. Like, did it feel that way to you? Does it feel that way to you? Or does it, are you like more fulfilled, less fulfilled? I want to like understand this.
Well, to be honest, I haven't really publicized it that much. I've sent it to friends and people who I want to read it, and it's available. It's like you can buy it on Amazon and whatnot. And if you're listening, it's called Encouragement Can Be Fatal. And it's a collection of prose poems that I wrote over a period of like 2 years. And I put it for the cheapest price you could put it, which is digital $1 or 99 cents for the digital version.
What? Did you really?
Mm-hmm. The cheapest, that's as cheap as they would allow it for the publishing place I went through, the self-publishing place, but it was $15 for the hard copy and 99 cents for the digital. Just because I'm not trying to make money off of it, and I'm also I've honestly been, and I think maybe I'll publicize it or promote it at some point, and maybe when this comes out. But I've been a little hesitant. I think something about self-promotion is hard. And also I think, to your point, it's something that I put out. I had 100% creative control on it, and it was it's these poems I put out, and I'm a little. Of course, I think I fear a little bit of like people being like, I didn't like it. So I think there's a little bit of like, I'm not trying to become like a famous author, and I'm not trying to make money off of it. So I was I was a little hesitant on like over promoting it, but I think I'll do it. And hopefully everyone will like it, and if they don't, hopefully they only spend 99 cents on it. Honestly, if you really want it and you don't want to spend any money, I have a bunch of extra copies. So find me on Instagram and DM me. I'll send it. I will.
I'm going to insist that you pay. If you're listening, I'm going to go ahead.
But
what do you, when you say self-promotion is hard, do you just because of its kind of like gross nature, or what is it? Or is it just what makes it hard?
I think, not even the gross nature of it. I think it's even just like, I don't know, like, if I tweeted this out and it didn't get a lot of like engagement, I would feel bad.
Really? You think?
Yeah, I think so. I think even though I'm not trying for that, but I think seeing hard numbers that say, no one really cares. I think it would be harder than just being like, okay, this is just for me and my friends, and whoever happens upon it. But I'll put something out there. I will.
I hope so. Yeah. I can't believe you haven't publicized it. It seems like such an exciting thing.
Yeah. I'll do it. And I do love the artwork that's on the cover, which was by this artist called Sarah Kahn, who I
anybody watching.
Oh yeah, there it is. Wow,
anybody who can see. There she is. Yeah, it's great.
But I love the art. So just maybe I'll just publicize it for the artwork. Anyone want to buy this beautiful art that has 60 prose poems inside of it? Because I think the artist is great. Sarah Kahn, I think she's based in Vancouver.
Wow.
Really great artist.
How did you find her work?
Just on Instagram. I was just like, I was just looking for interesting art that I could maybe use for a cover, and I saw that. I think it's called Crocodile in a Brocade, and I thought it was cool, and I reached out to her, and yeah.
It's so cool. I don't have any paintings up in my in this apartment, so maybe I should just get this. How weird would that be? Yeah. If I just framed this, had only this on my wall.
I would be fine with it, to be honest.
Oh, good. Okay, good. Because it might happen. It's very possible.
Just rip the cover off, frame it.
So one side. It's torn on one side.
Yeah, it makes it seem legit, You got the one original copy.
The authentic. Yeah. Uh-huh. This is the original print before it was all bound.
Yeah. No, but I'll do it. I'll do a little promotion for it, and I'll leave it at that. But I'm proud of it. I think, it was fun doing, and I didn't think I would put it in a book when I was writing them. And then last year at some point, I was just like, I have all these, and may as well have like a little nice memento of them all, rather than just being like scattered, typed up pages.
Yes.
So I just put it together, and I use this thing called Book Baby, which a self-publishing place that my buddy who had used, and they were cool. So
Book Baby?
Book Baby. That's the website I used, and they were great.
Cool.
This is not an ad. I realized as I was saying that, I was like, does this sound like an ad? It's not an ad.
The whole reason we scheduled this is to work into our Book Baby.
Actually, ad. Book Baby was terrible. Don't use them. That's how concerned I am that like it would come off as like an ad. They were bad.
It seems like you have a very intense sort of care or consideration for like, is this care more for the people who are watching or listening to, reading your tweets and things or hearing you, or is it more or like a self-preservation, self-protection thing, do you think?
About,
that makes sense?
About saying that it wasn't an ad?
Well, or more about, I guess I should explain more. I was going back to a previous thing, but when it's like not wanting to necessarily promote yourself or publicize yourself, is it that it would be too painful if like for you, if something didn't or is it like, I don't want to really like bug people with a thing?
I think it's all different. It's all sorts of jangled nerves in my head that prevent me from doing anything or putting anything out into the world. Jangled
Nerves is a fun book title for the second.
That is a good one.
You hated it. I could tell by your
No. I hated the idea of writing another book. It seems like a lot of work.
I'm working on I'm actually doing a memoir right now. I'm really excited about it, but I just sent in like the first draft and I'm waiting on notes from the publisher for the second draft. And when I tell you, like, it's maybe the thing that I've dreaded most in my life. Granted, the experience of actually writing it, I was like, oh my God, I feel it's, obviously being a memoir, the nature of it's very personal and kind of getting a lot of it's just my way of like finding peace, I think, is kind of writing my way through things.
Yeah.
But the idea of coming and going back into it and doing a second draft, I'm like, oh my God, it just sounds like hell. I hope so much that Sean is not listening to this.
Well, you could always self-publish it.
Book Baby. Is a great website.
No, they're bad. They're bad. No, they're not bad, but I want to maintain my dignity. I don't want anyone to think I'm shilling. Oh God.
My cheeks feel like in pain.
The world is so hard. It is so hard to navigate the world. It's so hard. Makes me feel bad for Magellan, taking the metaphor to its literal conclusion.
Speaking of aging, we weren't speaking of aging, but I was looking.
Well, Magellan's pretty old.
How long has Book Baby been around?
Oh, I think they did Sir Francis Drake's memoir about discovering Australia. I don't know. I mostly only know John Cabot discovered Newfoundland. That's as far as my explorer knowledge goes.
You lost me after Magellan. I don't know who John Cabot is.
Oh, John, he's a great explorer.
Great guy.
Italian guy. Discovered Newfoundland. I did an oral report on him in 5th grade. So,
how do you still remember this?
These are the things I remember.
This is what you have nostalgia for.
Yeah. Shout out to Craig Kearse. He's a friend that we became friends over. We both did oral reports about John Cabot. I met him, only like 8 years ago.
How did both of you did oral reports about, and you met him and you found out that you both did oral reports. I see.
Yeah. For some reason, John Cabot comes up usually in every conversation that I have with people. So no, I don't remember how that came up, but actually, interestingly enough, Cabot cheese that's not because of John Cabot. It's not based on him. It's based on a town in Vermont where they made the cheese. Cabot Creamery had nothing to do with John Cabot, if anyone was thinking that. If any of your listeners are thinking that he's the cheese guy, he's not.
Finding their Cabot cheese from like checking. Ooh. I looked up smile lines the other day because I was like, I feel like I have like deeper smile lines than most people my age, which I'm like, oh, maybe that's a good thing because like I smile more or something. Turns out I do. I think I have deeper smile lines than most people at 28.
Well, that's a good thing then.
Is it? But then it's like, but then they're just always there. They're just like these parentheses.
You think it makes it easier to smile because you've worked them in?
I think, yeah. I think it's like anything. It's like the muscle's been really worked, so it just kind of like knows what to do. And I'm like, I don't want you to do that. I want you to not do that. But it did make me. I was like, what if I just try and like kind of not like smile? Like I laugh a little bit more gently, like ha ha ha, like this kind of expression. And I tried it for like an hour, and it just did. I was like, this is never gonna work. I'm just meant to be like old and wrinkly, I guess.
I wouldn't think that. I don't think they're wrinkles.
You don't think? I mean, I think the parentheses are. I don't even know what you call them, but parentheses.
Just mouth parentheses. I don't think of them as wrinkles. I think of them as mouth parentheses. Put that on a t-shirt. Sell that at Book Baby.
Do you feel like you? Oh, do you have to go?
No.
Oh, great. Okay, good. Fantastic. There's more I'd like to get to, but do you feel like, I have thoughts, I guess, about family, about like, well, I used to be kind of concerned about, like marriage was a thing for me. Like, God, how am I going to find the right person? And I knew that for a while, I thought I don't even want to get married. And then once I was like, well, I want to get married, then it was a matter of, well, but how do I guess it was honestly probably a matter of finding the right person and thinking, well, I want to do this. Like that was kind of what solidified it for me. And now that things are seem to be going in the right direction, I feel more like relief about that. But there's kind of the family, like the kids thing, and going, right. Well, I've never really been into the idea of kids. And then there was maybe like a 5-month window where I thought, well, that seemed nice, but I think that was me just not being super excited about anything else, if I'm totally 100% honest. And now that I am excited about other things, I'm not really into the idea of kids anymore. And I wonder, like, will that hit? And a lot of my friends already have kids, and some of them have, at least if they don't already have kids, they kind of already are aware that they want them if they're kind of in my same age range. But like, I think that's another big thing of like the whole family bubble and that whole question. That's like such a big question mark for me. Is it for you, or is that something that you feel like very confident in, that you kind of know what you want?
No, that's a big thing. It's a big thing. Yeah, no, my girlfriend wants kids, and yeah, I just hadn't thought about it, and then, but you know, women at some point do have to have them. Not, I mean, if they want to, but there's a certain age, you know what I'm saying? Like there's an age, there's an age thing. And, I
get you.
You have to make a decision at a certain point. So that, that is
exactly. Yeah. It's exactly what I'm talking about.
Big,
like,
yeah.
There's that thing where it's like, well, I guess I better figure out in the next however many years. I mean, I guess still got some years. So.
Yeah, you're good. But it is yeah, no, definitely. I feel like I'm at therapy, but no, we've talked about this, and I'm coming around to the idea. I'm not against kids, but I think like having a kid and a family is definitely like, to go all the way circling back to aging. That's like, all right, that's it. There's no going back now. You're very much responsible for another human life and raising them and all that. And it's, I think it's scary.
Yes. Yeah.
Thing. I'm sure it's also like a great thing. And I think that, if and when I do it, it'll probably be great. And like, oh, this is actually kind of makes you see the world through a kid's eyes again. And then I'll know all the cool slang again. That's not a good reason.
We love to see it.
But yeah, no, family, it's such a hard thing. I think it's definitely I'm at the point where I should be thinking about that more than I do. And I think about it pretty much every second of the day. It's just like a hard thing. It's like, then you're kind of admitting you're old. But I think also, at a certain point, you just have to do it. If you want to, you don't have to.
Well, when you just said that it's kind of you're admitting you're getting old, my first thought was like, it's admitting, to me, it feels like admitting that I've given up. That's so scary to say.
Yeah.
Because it's like, that's not what it is at all, but it's
not what it is, but it can seem like that. It can seem like that because you're basically, and I think it's probably scarier when you don't have kids and you're thinking about it, but it can feel like, okay, I'm done with my life and now I'm here to help another life and help that one. But I don't think it has to be that. I think you can still do stuff and accomplish stuff after having a kid. But I think it is like a really scary thing for people who don't have kids to be thinking of it like that. And I totally get what you mean.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's just this looming thing of like, I guess maybe at some point I'll figure that out. But I also kind of, I think sometimes it's, in my experience, I guess, honestly, I'm definitely putting my mom's relationship with me on it, but like having her put her identity in me. And I get that already by now, I definitely have more of a fleshed out identity than my mom had. So it probably isn't a concern, but just the idea of like people who put too much on their kids and are, overbearing and over just their identity becomes like whatever their kid becomes. And that just seems so bad and dark. And I think like more often, like I think it's more common than not, honestly, is my judgment.
I mean, that could very well be true. I think that is not a good thing to have a kid and be like, okay, you're going to do all the things I couldn't do. And you're going to be everything, I'm going to mold you in my exact image of what I want. I think that's a bad thing. And probably, I think, I don't know. But I think you have to be it. I think, okay.
Personal experience.
Thank you for the verification.
Yes.
But I think you have to be at a place where you're happy with who you are and what you've done. And you're not going to try to put that onto the kid.
Yep.
And you're going to let the kid be what he or she or they want to be, without you feeding them, your own hopes and dreams. I don't know. But ultimately, I don't know. But I think maybe that's something.
I feel like it should just be, but I don't know, hard cut. There's no explanation. That's just how it ends.
That might have been a coherent thought. That might have been a string of words that, when put together, made sense. It's basically what I was saying.
What else? Do you have anything else on your mind? Did we talk about this? Is any sort of, are you going to leave thinking worse thoughts about aging? Are you going to leave feeling?
No. I think I'm good with it. I think that's fine. And it's such a tricky, aging is such an odd thing, but we all do it. That's the one thing. We all age. Everyone ages. No one can escape that.
Right.
So it's one of those things. I see, it's hard to like make an entire like brand about being young because it's by nature it's going to expire.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think everyone goes through it and everyone deals with it in their own way. But it's good to remember that, I guess. It's good to remember it's like, I'm not the only one who's aging. Everyone is aging. Everyone is one step closer to the grave with each passing day. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I felt like it was getting too serious and I had to I had to veer it off the road.
My parentheses are flaring.
Oh my gosh. So if anyone takes anything from this, take that that warning. No, it's cool. We could all stay young forever. We're all going to be young forever. I think if anyone could take anything from this, take that. We're all going to be young and cool, basically forever.
Do you feel cool? Or have you ever felt cool?
I think there was a period where I felt pretty cool. And I think I've always felt cool to myself. Like, I think I'm pretty cool. But I know that others don't. And that's okay. I don't think I'm like the epitome of cool. But I think like I am who I am. And if you're cool with that, then that's cool. What am I talking about? Oh my gosh. What was that sentence? I don't know. Just be who you are. Just be you.
Oh my good God.
My gosh.
Wow. I'm leaking.
Welcome back to the cliche aphorism hour. If I, I wish everyone could walk a mile in my smile.
But I don't want to bring anyone down with my friends.
Cool inspirational sayings. That's what I'm all about.
We could use the same, we could co-author and use the same cover.
Yeah. Cool inspirational sayings. Get your smile on.
Oh man. Did we cover it?
I think we covered everything other than children spontaneously recalling past life memories. But, I think anyone listening can look that one up. There's plenty of stuff on the internet. And if you're looking for the meaning of life and what happens after we die, check out children spontaneously recalling past life memories. Your mind's gonna be blown.
Or the trailer for that Greg Kinnear movie. I don't know what it's called, but I saw the trailer for it yesterday after you had texted that. And I was like, wow, this is a sign.
Oh, wow. Is there a movie that's about that?
Yeah, it's, I don't know the name of it, but it's Greg Kinnear.
Well, I mean, if it's got Kinnear, I'm in. Yeah, anyway, that, if you're looking to find out the truth about what happens after we die, check out that Greg Kinnear movie.
I'm gonna pee my pants.
Oh my gosh, a lot of laughs.
I think this might be the hardest that I've laughed on one of these.
Oh, I'm sure that's not true, but I'm glad that we had some laughs though. This is good.
Parentheses beg to differ. They are out and about.
Oh, they're almost brackets at this point.
They're the squiggly brackets.
Yes. What are those called?
I don't know, but they like show up sometimes in like, I think it was algebra. And I'm always like, well, this is crazy.
Yeah. I'm looking at them right now on my keyboard.
They kind of look like a person's side profile.
Yeah.
Like a very elven kind of type.
So weird. Everyone should look at your keyboard a little more closely because there's some odd stuff on there. There's some odd stuff. And, pay attention. Everyone focuses on the letters. There's other things. what is this at this point?
It always impresses me how people do, like, they'll use random, not emoji, but like brackets and things to make sort of makeshift emojis.
Yeah.
Like they'll do the one with the guy going like this.
Oh yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about? But it's out of like.
I do. That seems like hard to do.
It does.
But I guess maybe you can copy and paste it from somewhere.
Thanks. I'll do that. I will not send you a crying, laughing emoji. Instead, I'll send you a copy and paste of that guy, whatever that
guy
was.
Shrugging. Bracket guy shrugging.
Sounds good. Thank you so much for coming on. This really, honestly, I'm being honest. It was the most that I've laughed. I'm leaking, I'm cracking, I'm all the things.
I appreciate it. No, this was such a fun chat. I think I learned a little bit about myself. I don't know. I'm trying to do the podcast wrap up thing. And I think we all learned a little bit about life. Don't end it there. All right. Thank you for having me.
Bye. Great talking.